Welcome to Grow Your Wealth, the podcast where scaling a successful brand and your wellness go hand in hand. I'm Rena Goodwin, founder and CEO of Factor PR, a top beauty, health, and wellness PR studio, and I'm here to help you work smarter, not harder. Each week, we'll talk branding, marketing, and business growth alongside real, practical insights from trailblazers who are building businesses without the burnout. If you're ready to grow your brand, protect your energy, and design a life you love, you are in the right place. Let's grow. Hello, friends. Welcome back to Grow Your Wealth. I'm Rena Goodwin, and today we're going to talk to all of the doctors, physicians, and medical practices out there, health and wellness practices as well, too. We work with a lot of these types of brands at Factor PR. And you know what? Everyone that I work with is not going back to school to build their credibility right now, right? They've got the licensing, they've got the board certifications, they've even got the private practice, their name on the door, all of the things, right? And they're highly, highly credible, which is fantastic. But what they come to us at Factor PR is not to build their credibility. They already have that credibility. What they are looking for is to build influence. Credibility is a signal of assurance. It's a signal of trust, right? Like, I can trust you. You say you're this kind of physician or this kind of provider. I trust that that is true and that you know how to operate on me, so to speak. However, authority is different than credibility. Authority is a signal of your influence. Authority is your credibility recognized. And this is a great, great reason why so many doctors, physicians, health and wellness founders build their brands and build PR because they want to be recognized for the work that they do. But there's a lot of misunderstanding that I'm still seeing in the industry about personal brand and PR, especially as it comes to health and wellness. So let's back up just a little bit first. Personal brand and PR used to be what was called a nice to have, something that for doctors, they wanted to be a little bit more visible, a little bit more known. That is not what it is anymore. PR and brand, especially in the AI era, is an absolute must to have. We're in this era where AI tools like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, Gemini, they're not just answering questions anymore. They are recommending people, real practices, real providers. And here's a stat that I think about all the time that I've talked about here on the podcast, that more than 90% of AI generated citations, so these are the sources that AI pulls when it recommends someone, comes from earned and owned media. So not from your Instagram. AI doesn't crawl Instagram. It doesn't come from influencer posts. It literally comes from other third-party websites. So think media outlets recommending or quoting you or your practice, covering you, comes from blogs and things of that nature. Podcast transcripts as well, too. We've got a few episodes here on the Grow Your Wealth podcast that you can listen to understand how to show up in AI discovery. So if you're a physician or you run a med spa or you're a wellness founder and you keep wondering why AI is recommending your competitors down the street instead of you, it's usually not because they're necessarily better. Again, on paper, credibility looks very similar, but AI isn't just looking for credibility. It's looking for authoritative sources. And again, authority is your credibility recognized. AI is recommending these people because they've been seen and validated by someone other than themselves. That is the whole game, okay? Marketing, things like advertising, posting on social media, that is us saying great things about ourselves, right? PR is what other people are saying about us. Let me give you another illustration to really bring this home for you. I love this analogy by author S.H. Simmons. Okay. He talks about a man and a woman are out to dinner. Okay. Pronouns aside, but we're going to call it man and a woman just to understand who we're talking about. Okay. Man and a woman are out to dinner. If the man tells the woman how amazing he is, that's advertising. If the man tells a woman she's got great eyes, is an amazing conversationalist, and he thinks they'd be great together, that's marketing. Now, if somebody else walks up to the table and says to the couple, "Oh, you're on a date with this guy? He's amazing. What a great guy." That's PR. So you see the difference, right? PR is about what other people say about us. And it doesn't mean we can't influence it, right? That's what we do as PR and brand strategists here at Factor PR. You can influence it, but you see just how much more powerful that third-party endorsement is. That is what AI is pulling from. And again, it's not just an AI thing. As I just illustrated, this is true of humans too. There's a stat that gets thrown around a lot, and I think it's worth repeating because, again, it's true and it's pretty astonishing, right? 81% of people will not buy from a brand that they don't trust, that they're not familiar with, right? So we talk a lot about this know, like, and trust. This is so valuable. It doesn't always connect directly to revenue. You can't be like, "Oh, how much do you trust me?" and then see the sale. It's the build up. It's the know, like, and trust that we bank over time that can help influence a purchase down the line, right? 81% of people will not buy a brand that they don't already trust. Not a brand that they haven't heard of, a brand that they don't trust. Those are different problems. And PR is one of the fastest and most effective ways to solve that second problem because, again, when a credible outlet vouches for you, essentially, that trust is being built before a patient ever picks up the phone or books a consult online. So your personal brand, if you're the founder of a practice, isn't a vanity project anymore. It's doing the work of helping influence someone to trust you before you've even said a single word to them, right? How great is it when someone arrives at your practice and you really don't have to sell them, right? Like they've already done their research. They know what your credibility looks like. They know that you've been recognized. They just kind of want to do a vibe check and make sure, get that reassurance from you that you can help them solve their problem. And the rest is history, right? So let's break down what PR is actually doing for you leading up to this point, because I think people conflate it with a few things. Okay. So again, as we mentioned, you already have the credibility. You went to school for this. You had a fellowship. You're trained. You're licensed. You know your stuff. You've got the experience that absolutely rivals your peers and competitors. Nobody's arguing that. What PR gives you is a platform, gives you recognition. It's a third party, most often a journalist or a podcast producer, a publication, an outlet someone's already familiar with, saying, this person knows what they're talking about, right? And when that recognition happens consistently, again, not once, but over time, it translates into authority. And authority is what makes you influential in your industry. It's what makes patients choose you before they've met you. It's what helps AI tools recommend you, your practice by name. So the order matters. Credibility is the foundation. Recognition is the accelerant. Authority and impact is the outcome. And influence, that's the compounding interest on all of it. Here at Factor PR, we help you enhance your reputation, elevate your recognition to help you earn revenue. This is our path to prominence method here at Factor PR. I actually think about PR that way a lot as compounding interest. Every placement, every podcast feature, every quote in a publication, you guys, it stacks. One hit doesn't make you influential, but 10 hits over a quarter, 20 hits over a year, that consistent theme, that's what starts to feel unbeatable, undeniable even. That's what a competitor with a bigger ad budget just can't buy their way into. As entrepreneur Barbara Corcoran has famously said that she believes, and I completely agree with her, that a story in the New York Times that is written about you is so much more valuable than spending $80,000 on an ad in the New York Times, right? That's what we're really talking about here. Now, I also want to be honest with you about something because I think it actually helps you play this game a little bit smarter. Physicians who talk about healthcare, real health, not elective procedures only, tend to get picked up by the media faster than those in elective or aesthetic care alone. And with elective care, there is still a hierarchy. Okay. So this is one of the things I want you to understand if you are a physician, especially a physician like a plastic surgeon, a cosmetic surgeon, those in the aesthetics world, or anything that, pay out of pocket that isn't accepted by insurance, right? Maybe you have a concierge practice where you don't accept insurance, but if you're doing something like, physical therapy, that is typically accepted by insurance. Things like cosmetic surgery, not so much, right? But totally understand that as a cosmetic surgeon, you want to be featured in the media talking about what you do, which is cosmetic surgery. And that's important to a PR agency like ours representing cosmetic surgeons and physicians as well, too. Journalists, though, generally speaking, want a physician's perspective before they want a nurse or an esthetician, even though these providers are absolutely qualified and doing incredible work. So 2 things that we're talking about here, okay, is the type of physician or the type of provider. I know a lot of us hate that word. I'm sorry. The type of provider, right? Physicians are typically going to get quoted and featured over someone like even like a nurse or an esthetician or a facialist and so forth, right? Because they have the most credibility, arguably, right? Particularly board certified physicians. And the type of stories that most of these board certified physicians are getting coverage in are stories that are focused on more general healthcare, right? Think about the things that insurance covers, because there are more media outlets covering those types of topics, such as skincare over aesthetics, such as cardiology over, functional health even, right? So keep these things in mind, right? A journalist writing about like hormone health or a new dermatological finding wants the person with the most clinical authority behind that claim, because that's what also makes the story credible to their reader. So we talk a lot about borrowing credibility from a media outlet to help boost your authority. But also what helps make these media outlets credible is who they choose to be in these pieces as well. Now, I want to be really clear here. This doesn't mean that you cannot get PR if you're not an MD or if your specialty is elective. No, I do not mean that at all. I want to share a client example with you. We work with a med spa in the Philadelphia area that has expanded to West Palm Beach and Miami called Body and Beauty Lab. And over the course of 6 months, we got them over 30 pieces of earned media coverage, not for physicians at the practice, but for people like wellness providers, nurse practitioners that are specialized in wellness, aesthetics, and so forth. So yes, you absolutely can still get great PR, even if you are not a doctor. It just means that we have to be extra strategic about your positioning.
Hi, friends. I want to tell you about our new and improved Authority Accelerator from Factor PR called RealFluence. RealFluence is the only membership that helps beauty and wellness founders grow their reputation and authority to attract new customers without endless discounting, advertising, or going viral. Inside, you'll learn how to get recognized for your product or your expertise, partner with other founders, and become the name people trust and talk about, all with the guidance and community to support you every step of the way. Remember, you can't buy authority. You have to earn it. And RealFluence is here to help. Visit therealfluence.com to get started.
And there are things that you can do regardless of your title that meaningfully improve the likelihood of being consistently tapped as a media expert. The first thing is, again, positioning, as we talked about. What is your category of one? If you're curious about positioning and you want a little bit of help really dialing this in, I highly recommend checking out our Authority Toolkit. It's $9. You guys, you can go to therealfluence.com/toolkit. The link is in the notes, and there's a ChatGPT prompt that you can use, an awesome masterclass video, as well as a credibility calculator that's going to help you nail down your positioning a little bit more deeply and more thoughtfully. The second thing is content. You have to be creating content around your areas of expertise, your perspectives, your take on trends consistently. This isn't just on social media. This is also on your blog. This could also be on podcasts and things like that too, because they're searchable. Journalists and producers are searching also for expert voices constantly. And if you've already published your point of view somewhere, you become findable. You become quotable. You've done half their job for them, right? The third thing, and this is something that we built specifically because of this exact topic, is casting a wider net, which I know for a lot of physicians can feel a little bit counterintuitive. For example, if I spend all day with my patients on hormonal health, why would I talk about a more general topic, right? Especially if I'm investing in something like PR, I want to be known as the hormonal health expert. Again, what we just talked about, positioning when you're a category of one, creating content around that positioning. But here's what I mean. A lot of providers, they come to us and say, I only want to talk about this one procedure, or I only want to talk about this one condition. And I understand that instinct, but that's not the instinct that's going to work if your goal is to get as recognized as can be in the media. Sometimes you need more surface area to get more interest, to get more bites. So at Factor PR, what we do for our clients is we build out an authority map. It's a breakdown of all of the different angles, topics, and perspectives that a physician or founder can speak credibly on that tie back to their expertise, right? So we always want all things to come back to your expertise, but the goal is to solve one problem 10 different ways rather than trying to speak on 10 different problems and becoming a master of none. So a great example of this is that, I'll talk about that plastic surgeon example from earlier. A plastic surgeon wants to be known for plastic surgery. However, that's the skill that they have. That's the job that they do. But the problem that they solve, I have air quotes if you're not watching this on video, the problem that they solve is aging, right? So any topic related to aging arguably can lead to their specialty, which is plastic surgery. So a plastic surgeon could talk about sunscreen, right? Because sunscreen is FDA approved to do what? Slow down the skin damage and ultimately signs of aging, right? A certain ingredient, let's say in topical skincares as well, that are focused on what? Maybe collagen production. What does that do? Help slow down the signs of aging, right? So you see what I'm trying to picture for us here, right? Think about in your positioning, not what you do, but what problem you solve for your patients, and your story angles and opportunities should kind of spray out from there. Okay. This is the difference between a provider who gets one nice dedicated feature and can't get any more, or a provider who becomes the go-to source a journalist calls again and again for what? The problem that they solve, which in this case, aging, right? So think of it that way. Think of that one word, one problem that you solve, and your authority map should come out from there. I want to give you a real example too of what this looks like when it works, because I think it makes all of this a little bit less abstract. So I'm going to give you an example of a client that we've been working with at Factor PR for over 2 years now. And we have gotten this client, Mona Dermatology, consistently featured in major media. They are not based in New York. They are not based in LA or Miami or London. They're based in good old Cincinnati, Ohio, the middle of the Midwest. Okay. And we have gotten them consistently placed in outlets as big as NBC, Cosmopolitan, Women's Health, Harper's Bazaar, Allure, Vogue, multiple times, not one-off placements, but a steady drumbeat of coverage. Here's the part that matters the most. Mona is also now seeing more than 25 new patient acquisitions every single day without running a single ad. Now, I'm not saying it's all PR, right? But it's the system. It's the ecosystem. That's what happens when recognition helps build your brand, creates authority for you, and that authority starts to do the marketing for you, right? Patients aren't finding Mona Dermatology because of a paid campaign. They're finding Mona Dermatology because of people talking about Mona, referrals. They go to their socials, they see their content. They also see the press coverage that's rotating in their office, right? And it has become the go-to place in the region that people trust for their medical and cosmetic dermatology. That's amazing, you guys. If you serve a local market, national media matters even more than you might think. Local competition, you guys know this better than anyone, right? Especially in health and wellness aesthetics, it is fierce right now, especially in aesthetics. There are almost as many med spas in the United States of America as McDonald's locations. Let that sink in. That's crazy. Okay. How do we differentiate our practice and elevate our reputation among med spa A, med spa B, med spa C, all down the street, for example? Being the provider or the practice who's been covered in national media, in regional media, this isn't just a vanity metric. It's one of the exact tactics that differentiates you from, again, the 3-4 other practices down the street serving the same quote unquote audience, service, and so forth, right? Now, could you do pieces of this yourself, the content? Absolutely. You should be doing that regardless. Building media relationships, pitching consistently, mapping out your authority strategically can absolutely be something that even I've seen office managers and directors of ops take the lead on at their practices. If you have a team big enough for that, for sure. That is what we offer a helping hand with our RealFluence program here at Factor PR. It's a do it together authority accelerator for health and wellness, as well as beauty and aesthetics founders. So if you're not quite ready to outsource to a public relations agency, this is a fantastic middle ground where you get the support of an agency, but also the liberty to do the efforts yourself. Now, here at Factor PR, every single day, what we do for our physicians, our aesthetic practices, and our wellness founders is get them nationally recognized. Okay. Now, this is also great for very busy practices where maybe, again, you're probably seeing patients, clients, and so forth all day. You don't have time to hunt down opportunities and you want an agency to bring you the opportunities. I would love to chat with you. This is our bread and butter at Factor PR. We are one of the only award-winning public relations agencies in the country here in the US that specializes in women's health, beauty, wellness, and aesthetics. So links down in the show notes below. If you'd love any more information, we can chat. But before I let you go, here's what I want you to walk away with. I want to assure you, if you're a doctor, a wellness provider, physician, and so forth, you already have the credibility, my friends. You are already like 5 steps ahead. What you might be missing is the recognition. And again, recognition, it's not about luck. It's certainly not being the loudest person in the room. It's certainly not being the biggest person on social media. Recognition comes down to strategy. Okay. What we talked about, part of that strategy, getting really clear on your positioning. What is that one problem you solve, right? Creating content around that problem. That's not just on your socials, but on your blog, places that are actually searchable for journalists to look for and find you. Think about your angles as well and create content around that. And cast a wider net than you think you need to. And know that even if the media landscape has a hierarchy, there is absolutely a place for you. You just got to work it, right? I also want to tell you something about RealFluence, which I mentioned earlier as our authority accelerator. We actually have our 6-week pitch sprint coming up. It's a live It's a live guided cohort where you actually get to build and send your pitches with accountability and support the whole way through instead of just letting them sit in a Google Doc forever. How many of us have been guilty of that? Our next pitch sprint starts off August 17th, and I'd love to see you in it. If you have any questions at all, again, reach out to us. We're at Grow Your Wealth Podcast on Instagram. You can also shoot us an email at podcast@factorpr.com. And I hope this episode helped inspire you, motivate you to get the recognition that you so deserve. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope this episode deposited some useful advice and insights to help you grow your wealth. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future conversations. You can find more resources, episode details, and updates at growyourwealthpodcast.com. And let's keep the conversation going on Instagram. Follow me at Grow Your Wealth Podcast. I'd love to hear your thoughts, questions, or takeaway from today's show. Until next time, remember, burnout is optional. Take care, and I'll see you next week.